Previously, I showed you what it was like to travel and trade from Bali, Indonesia, the paradise island. I showed you the good, the bad, and of course, the ugly. During that week, I made a total of $5,300 from 4 days of trading, and the whole week cost me about $1,172 in Bali. Today, I'm about to take you guys with me and do it all over again. This time, away from the tropical oceanfront and jungles. This time, we'll be traveling and trading from the concrete jungle of the north. Some people call it the wannabe New York City, which is Toronto, Canada. I'll be breaking down how much money I made or lost from 1 week of trading, the trading hours, and what my trader lifestyle routine is like, finally in the market time zone. I'll also answer some of your most asked questions regarding travel trading, whether the internet's good, VPN, what brokers and trading platforms to use, and of course, my exact travel trading computer setup. And last but not least, I'm going to be really transparent about how much it all costs, from accommodations to food and the entertainment. Because spoilers, Toronto, Canada is a very expensive city. It's ranking in the top 10 most expensive cities in North America. Yeah, after this trip, my wallet definitely isn't happy. If this kind of travel trading video is something you want to see more of, then make sure to hit the like button down below. And now it's time for us to travel to Toronto, Canada. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the concrete city that is Toronto, Canada. For years, I've had to wake up at 4:30 a.m. or 5 or latest 6 a.m. in the morning in Vancouver in order to make it to the market open. Finally, that's changed now that I'm living and trading from Toronto this week. We are in New York, Eastern time zone, baby. Here in the morning, I normally wake up at 8 to 8:30 a.m. and start with a quick coffee or breakfast and get straight to pre-market trade planning. Alright, so day one was a little bit of a lighter day. I saved my screenshots here. Since I have to leave soon for an event in the afternoon, I kept it pretty light. I traded my favorite trend join long setup on Meta and Amazon. So you can see this is the first major green day on Meta, finally bounced from $600. I got in after it broke out above key level and joined the trend. All the way rolled it to the upside. But I closed the day realizing $2,500. Not bad at all for a couple hours of work. As you've probably seen in a YouTube video I posted a few months ago, that I was going through a lot in the first half of this year. And I'm happy to say that I'm doing so much better. I'm showing up in the morning really excited to trade and make money once again. I'm taking care of myself a lot more, eating healthier, and finally, I'm just starting to love my life again. I think the biggest difference of where I am now versus 6 months ago is that I can finally reflect back at everything that's happened this year and just be grateful that they've all led me to where I am right now. At this moment, being able to sit here sharing my story with you, I'm just so grateful for this and I feel so blessed. Thank you for all of your support during all of these years. Anyways, all that talk is just to tell you, I can cook now and I cook pretty healthy now. Alright, after lunch, it's time to get ready and head out for the Dawn of Investing event hosted by Questrade. First, I just gotta say, this video is not sponsored by anyone. Everything I say here is my own honest opinion. So after seeing that really impressive presentation in real life by Questrade, I can tell they actually spent time scouring through Reddit, the internet, and talked to retail traders. Because a lot of these new features, such as the AI news analysis, AI pattern finder, trader school, and trading performance dashboard, these are features that us retail traders, we've been talking and asking for years. So kudos to Questrade for leveling up the playing field for active traders here in Canada. I'm on the waitlist to try Questrade Pro and I have a good feeling about this one. I'll keep you posted. So So day 2 of trading in Toronto was a lot more exciting. There were a lot of gappers, especially the big cap names like Google, Meta, and Amazon. Okay, what a day. I was not expecting this much action during the Thanksgiving holidays week. So Nvidia, I traded this long and short. I got chopped down the short side, ended up going long. Did much better there. Another stock I traded all on the long side is Google. This is one of my favorite strategies, the gap up reversal long. I also did pretty well. I also traded another one, ANF. If we can pull that up. ANF, this is also another one of my bread and butter setups. I call it the trend join long after gap up reversal long. You can see I even joined late. After it broke out the higher day, you can see steadily trending up. I'm all out now. I thought I was pretty good, exiting at 83 and then 85. But here we go. The stock hit the newest high of the day is $88. So just tells you that you really just have to join the trend and try not to time it. Overall, pretty good day. You can see that closing the day around $3,500. I was up nicely around $5,000 in one account, but I definitely overtraded and gave back some profits. The total for day 2 was $5,700. But of course, I have to tell you that not every day was like this. I traded one day last week in Toronto and it was a red day. All right. I want to take some time to talk about my travel trading setup. Because every time I post about this, whether it's a photo or some reels on Instagram, I get a lot of questions. People asking about internet latency, whether I use VPN, or what my laptop is, and all these different USB screens, and what the actual cost is like. So I'm going to answer all of your questions today. So let's start with the setup now, shall we? So a lot of people are asking, what's the laptop I use? Years ago, as you recall from some of my older videos, I was using a gaming laptop. Well, it was great. It was extremely heavy. I mean, you can see the gaming laptops are usually pretty thick and they're extremely heavy. So that's why about 2 years ago, I downgraded actually to this LG 17-inch laptop called LG Gram. It's extremely lightweight. I can pick up really quickly. Oh, there's a lot of cords here, so I'm not gonna do that. But it's extremely lightweight and really thin. So if I close the laptop, which you can see here, that it's really lightweight, easy to travel with, and I'm so glad I made the switch. I want to be transparent. This LG laptop, the build is not the best. Like sometimes, like once in a while, it just freezes out of nowhere. Whereas I never had a problem with I think it was the Acer gaming laptop. So it's definitely a trade-off. Do you want your laptop to be a lot better built, but really a lot heavier? Or you want something that's lightweight? For me, this is worth it. I've taken this lightweight laptop to, I think, Vietnam, Mexico, Bahamas, Taiwan. I'm about to go to Thailand as well. And of course, at Bali. So I've taken it everywhere. So it gets the job done, which is trading. And I do a lot of other email and admin stuff as well. So I want to talk about the USB monitors next, because I got a lot of questions about these. And honestly, this is the best upgrade I did maybe 2 or 3 years ago. This is a newer model. Like you can detach this. This thing comes off. This is a newer model of the Asus Zen screen. Again, you attach everything by USB-C, like right here, hopefully you can see. This one also stands on its own too. Like if you don't get a stand, like this stand is a separate thing that you can buy. This thing, you can like fold this thing at the bottom, and there's a stand that you can stand on. So it's a standalone thing. Like a lot of the older model, you have to buy a separate stand, like this one. This is the older model, and you need a stand for this. Like I got this for like $10 or something. But this one is just an older model. It's flat at the back. Also by Asus. So this newer model is definitely a little bit more expensive. I think I got it on sale for $300. And this stand itself, it's also $150. Like, let me show you the stand right now. The stand comes off in 2 pieces. You can detach it here. It's a pretty decently weighted stand, it's about half a pound. So that's gonna be a deterrent for some people who want to travel light. But for me, this allows my productivity to be so much better. I prefer having a stand vertically over my laptop. So my laptop's here. I prefer just being able to set a stand right above my screen. So I'm looking up and down instead of sideways, which I don't like as much. So for that, I think this was worth the upgrade. And also, like I said, it's detachable. You can adjust the height. Lower, higher. So sometimes when I'm standing, I'll use this as standing screen as well. And you can also, I don't really do this, but you can rotate it vertically for some people who use a vertical screen, but I don't. But I like this. It's really versatile, but again, there's definitely some weight to it. So yeah, I want to say altogether, the 2 USB monitors with a stand and my laptop, which I got it on a sale for $1,000. You can get this exact setup for about anywhere from $1,600 to $1,800 US. Next, we have my trusted vertical mouse. This is the Logitech MX Vertical. I had some hand problems from my previous line of work in the film industry. So that's why I cannot use a normal mouse. I had carpal tunnel and it just hurts when I click the mouse. Next, let's talk about the execution speed and internet and whether I use VPN, because I got a lot of questions asking about this. So the best hack is to, if you're staying at Airbnb when you travel, always ask the host about the internet speed. That's what I did in Bali, Vietnam, and what I'm about to do in Thailand as well. So I never had a problem when I asked. I always make sure I'm getting really high-speed internet. Some places even have fiber optics, so I get 500 megabytes per second or something like that. Ironically, the place where I had the most issue with the internet was New York City. The hotel internet, it just sucks so much. I just hated it. So next time I might try another option there instead of hotels. And I never use VPN when I'm trading. Of course, use it when you're doing other stuff, whether maybe it's banking or sensitive documents or stuff like that for work. But for trading, I never use VPN because I don't want any delays or latency. Next, let's talk about the brokers and the platforms that I use. You can see here, I'm using DAS Trader Pro for a lot of my brokers that I trade with. I use Centerpoint Securities for a lot of active day trades. And then I use Interactive Brokers for my swing trades, both on the mobile app. Sometimes when I'm traveling, I just take the swing trades on my mobile app, as well as a desktop. On desktop, I connect my Interactive Brokers with DAS Trader Pro. And I never had any issues connecting to DAS in Southeast Asia or most of the other places I've traveled to. I'll put details of all the links and current promotions for these trading platforms and my complete trading setup down below in the video description. Each day after trading and after markets closed, I try to go to the gym around 4 to 5 p.m. for an hour and a half. After all the food and traveling I did in Bali in May of this year, I really tried to dial in on my workout, diet, and just overall fitness. As you guys probably know, I used to do a lot of pole dancing regularly for 4 to 5 years. But this year was the first year I actually returned to the gym and been doing a lot of strength training exercises regularly. My workout split is alternating days of upper and lower body workouts with at least 2 days of abs and cardio in a week. And I'm really happy with all the steady progress I've made this year. It definitely helped me feel better, boosted my mood during tough times, and overall I just feel stronger and healthier. And of course, after today's hard workout, I go out to eat with some friends, and we eat and drink back all the calories. Tee-hee! Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I had a late night last night after dinner with friends and I slept in this morning. Whoops. To be fair, I knew this is a holiday week, the volume is going to be a lot lower in the market anyways, so the only trade I took today was an overnight swing trade. I sold my Nvidia swing trade overnight. After the short trading session, I did some work meetings, went to the gym, and did a very nice red light therapy session for full body at this really bougie, trendy fitness/wellness studio here in Toronto. Not sponsored, of course. And now we're heading to my dear friend Adrian, aka Canadian in T-shirts birthday party. The group of people you're seeing right now, these are some of my closest friends I met through Blossom Social. They've helped me through some of my darkest times earlier this year. I feel so grateful and blessed to be able to call them my friends. In my opinion, this is the greatest part of being on social media. It's not about the money, not about the fame, truly, I mean that, but the ability for me to connect with smart, interesting, and kind people like a Blossom crew and many of you that I met in real life in the last couple of months. Sincerely, I appreciate all these moments of connecting and sharing real stories with you so much. Okay, let me get off the soapbox. Let's do a grand tally of how much money I made from day trading this week in Toronto, Canada. And also I'll break down my costs, all the living expenses for 1 week here as well. Day 1 was a decent start of the week. I made $2,530 on a lot of bounce plays with the market recovering from last week's retracement. Day 2, it was a nice continuation day from yesterday's bounce. I closed the day with $5,736 in the day trades. Day 3, I woke up late, and the only trade I did was selling an overnight swing trade position on Nvidia, realizing about $1,172. I know it's a shortened week, and technically I only traded for 3 days this week, but we can also include the one red day I had last week while in Toronto. Last week I did trade 1 day after I got here. I lost $2,700. So the grand total profits from trading here in Toronto is $6,726. Now let's talk about how much it costs to spend 1 week here in Toronto. Here's a breakdown of all the expenses in US dollars. I'm not gonna lie, I probably splurged a little bit too much on food, drinks, and Ubers here. But hey, when you are with a lot of good friends, some of your favorite people in the world, you just gotta splurge a little bit and live a little bit, am I right? And yeah, I even included some Black Friday shopping too for full transparency, but obviously this is a one-off big expense each year. It's not gonna happen every single week. So yeah, comparing with how much money I spent for a week in Bali, Indonesia, this is definitely a lot higher, about 3 times more actually. But again, I think I actually prefer the trading hours here in Toronto, Canada. We are in Eastern time zone, which is market time zone after all. I feel like I was able to capture bigger moves and a lot of more midday reversals. Whereas when I was living and trading in Bali, I was only able to trade until about midnight to 1 a.m. I just couldn't stay up anymore after that. After the experience this week, and of course, I've also been here in the summer where the weather was so much better, I'm actually considering a move from Vancouver to Toronto. Maybe next year? We'll see. So what do you think? Is trading from Toronto, Canada for you? Comparing with Bali, Indonesia, which one do you prefer? And where is your dream country or dream city to move to as a trader? Feel free to share with me and other traders watching this video in the comment section below. If you haven't seen my 1 week of traveling and trading from Bali video, then you should definitely check it out over here.